My name is Dr. Curtis Nickel, and I'm a urologist who recommends saw palmetto extract to men who are looking for a complementary alternative option for treatment of lower urinary tract symptoms. While saw palmetto extract is sold all over the world for men's health, it only grows in Southeast United States. I was invited for a motorcycle journey to rural Florida to see firsthand the backstory of where saw palmetto grows, is picked, processed, and manufactured. My first stop is the northern Florida wilderness, where saw palmetto berries were being harvested.
It's Mike, is it?
Yes, Dr. Nichols, how are you doing?
Very good, just call me Curtis.
I will.
What are you doing out here?
Well, I'm looking for saw palmetto. So the berries on the saw palmetto is what we're looking for. Yep, that's what we're looking for.
Kind of a exciting and interesting job.
It can be.
This is the first time I've actually been sort of in the field. And I can see this is not cultivated. This looks like it's wild.
This is wild. This is as wild as it gets. They can grow upwards of 2,000 years, which has been documented. We have some that we pick now that's close to 1,700 years, and it'll be 10 feet tall, and it'll stretch out, 12, 20 feet wide. They grow in clusters.
And I can see the workers sort of are covered even in all this heat, and that's because of these serrated edges?
That's correct. So this serrated edge is just like it would be on a steak knife, and it's just that sharp.
So, Mike, we're in North Florida right now. The season starts in the South Florida, correct?
That is correct.
And then what do? You follow the ripening berries, you chase them, in other words.
We are chasing the berries. We are chasing the golden berries. So when these berries get ripe, they're going to turn, and they're going to start turning into a little bit of a gold color. And that's what we're looking for, is that golden color, orange color berry. That means we're getting into the ripe berries, and that's pretty much where we need to be.
And then as you chase them north, you actually chase them across the border into Georgia.
We do. We chase them into Georgia. They'll be up and through coastal Georgia, up through Savannah. So if you took a line and you drew it straight to Mobile, Alabama, that would be pretty much the saw palmetto line.
So Mike, that was really, really interesting. What I'm seeing is, your company and all the fellows that are working on this are sort of pioneers in the field.
Yes, we're the first one that are taking this from the field all the way to the oil process, making sure every step of the way that is done correctly and ethically.
Well, that's interesting. Let's just hope that others follow your lead.
I sure do hope so.
Mike, it's been really great knowing you.
Good meeting you too.
My next destination is the drying facility, where they extract water and lock in the natural oils.
Hey Adrian, I'm Curtis.
Hey Curtis, nice to meet you.
Nice to meet you too. Do you actually keep track of
Yes.
where each batch of berries come
So
from?
we keep track of every lot. So every lot that comes in here, we know what not only what ranch it comes from, but what part of what ranch it comes from. So we know where the berry will harvest. We even know what guy, say there's 20 of us picking berries today. We know if this guy picked 120 pounds, and this guy picked 150 pounds, and this guy picked 300 pounds. At the end of the day, they mark their bags, we weigh their bags, and each man gets paid for his berries that he picked. And so we can tell you where that man worked, where them berries come from, and we can tell you what dryer they went in and what box they're in waiting to go to extractor.
Do you test the berries?
Sure.
And you can go back and relate that to where they came from?
Absolutely.
Well, that's good.
Absolutely. We check the berries before we harvest them by basically looking at them. We know them.
Right.
We know if they're ripe. We know if they're getting close. And if we have to, we can take samples and send it to the lab, and they can tell us what percentage of old them berries are.
So Adrian, what's going on behind us here?
So actually these berries that you see, they're loading there, they're berries that we picked over the last couple days, over the weekend, and now we're putting them in the dryer.
Can you just show me?
Yeah, let me show you. I think it'll be easier.
Okay.
Absolutely.
Okay. Adrian, so this is the drying facility
Correct.
that you're telling me about. How does it work?
The dryer will heat up to 160 degrees. We like to run it around 140, 142, something like that. We load 180,000 roughly, 175 to 185,000 pounds of berries in there. And once they go in, we load the dryer. In 3 days, we'll turn the berries and just to mix them up and stir them. And we dry it for additional 2 days. But what these dryers do, there's 17 of them. Whatever farm they come from, we can put in the different dryers. So we keep up with smaller batches. So it works out well. So the berries I showed you in the big dryer out there, that's the same berries, but these have been pre-cleaned, okay? They've been through the blowers and these are cleaned. The only step that's not done with these berries is they haven't been run through the magnets. So they'll run through this machine behind you and it'll take out any metal that might be in them.
Right.
And then once they run through that and through the magnets, then they go in the super sacks and we send them to the extractor.
That's what I'm seeing there.
Yes, they've been double cleaned, run through the magnets, and are in super sacks ready for a truck to take them to the extractor.
How much does each one of those weigh?
2,000 pounds.
2,000 pounds
Every
a
one
sack.
of them, yes.
Fascinating.
Yes.
Fascinating, Adrian. Nice to meet you.
Very nice to meet you.
On the way to the extraction facility, I have an opportunity to visit the University of Florida Botanical Facility to meet with saw palmetto experts.
Professor Van Drom.
Nice to meet you.
It's really an honor to be able to meet one of the scientists who study the basic sciences of saw palmetto. And so I'd like, if it's okay with you, to ask a number of questions about the science behind, the basic science behind saw palmetto.
Sure. We started working with saw palmetto a couple of years ago. So we know a little bit about the plant and the botany of the plant.
I have been to the fields, watched them pick. I've been to the drying plant to see what's happening there. I've seen the berries and various ripeness. But what I don't understand, or I don't really know, is the actual botany behind the plant. Could you kind of just go over that a little bit for me?
Sure. So saw palmetto is a shrub palm native from Florida. So it's basically endemic to the whole state. The palm is growing by rhizomes, which is kind of like a grass form of growth. So they shoot rhizomes to grow different shoots.
All the plants that I see in the forest, are they all joined underground?
Yes, yes.
So when I was out in the wilderness or the forest, I saw small little ones that are here, larger ones, and somebody told me they could be 1,000 years old. Is that correct?
Yes, they have some studies done on archbold that they discovered they can be several thousand years old, doing some studies with them. Most of the collection, it's made on the wild, on just natural settings of where saw palmetto is growing. I would say it's a very unique plant and has so much value. And since being endemic to Florida, it's also a fire-adapted plant, so it has so many cool characteristics that sometimes people see in the landscape and don't appreciate how much value that plant has.
I have a major problem in that there appears to be worldwide much more saw palmetto in health food stores and drug stores than there is a supply from Georgia and Florida. Now, where is all this other saw palmetto product coming from?
That's a good question. I think it will be important to know the source, and not only knowing the source, but knowing that that source has tested the material and it has some type of standard that it will be reliable. So you can tell, okay, this is a product that is reliable, I know the source, it has been tested, versus another product where you really don't know the source.
Mm-hmm. Thank you very much. This has really been an education.
It's been a pleasure.
It's been very nice meeting you. This has been fantastic. I really do appreciate you meeting with me today.
My last stop is at the extraction facility, where I plan to tour the factory and speak to a scientist about how saw palmetto extract is made.
Larry.
Yeah, hi, Dr. Nickel. Welcome to Valensa's plant.
Well, thank you very much. I really appreciate the opportunity to visit. I appreciate the invitation. So what's your position here, Larry?
I am the guy who looks after all the supply chain and extraction of our saw palmetto berries.
You're going to be able to take me through the plant and show
Absolutely,
me what's
I'll
going on?
show you every detail about what we do.
Fantastic.
My pleasure. First things we'll do is we'll scrub up a little bit.
Sounds like I'm getting ready for surgery.
So from here, behind us is our supercritical CO2 extraction plant. Everything you see on that blue superstructure is our high pressure equipment for extraction. What I'd like to do is take you to the very beginning to see the berries and then step you through the process on how we extract to get to the final oil.
That's exactly what I'm looking for. Let's go.
Okay, as we arrive into our warehouse, we have saw palmetto berries in the super sacks.
These are the berries that I saw in the drying facility up near Jasper.
Exactly. We do a controlled drying of the product. We clean them up to remove any debris that comes in from the forest. So really, I'm only having pure saw palmetto berries at this point. Here you have a sense of it. You can feel them. They're hard as a rock.
Yep. I saw that at the plant, and I see you keep track of where they're coming from.
Exactly. They're coming. Everything is lot controlled, and we have traceability from our lots as received here, all the way through the harvesting back to where they originally harvested it across the entire state.
Gotcha.
In addition to the permits that are required and everything else. So we have complete traceability from here all the way to our oil.
They're shipped here. Here they are. Now what do you do with them?
One other step that's critical for what we do, when they are controlled, harvested and then dried, we then would take controlled samples of that product and we'll do a complete workup of the chemistry of what's in those berries. So before they even arrive here, I know not only the total oil, but I'll know all the fatty acid profile and all the plant sterols and everything else in there that I need to know about this and how it's going to match the USP Pharmacopoeia standards. So let's go this way and I'll show you the steps, because as you saw, these things are as hard as a rock. Yes. And you need to get them in a format where you can extract them. Those large super sacks would be staged and positioned up on this rack.
Yep.
And goes through a bucket elevator and drops into a chopper. This is cracking the outer shell of the dried berry.
Gotcha.
And exposing the inner core of the oil. Then it's conveyed up again to this horizontal conveyor.
Right.
And we are injecting liquid nitrogen into this trough.
Yes.
And we're freezing those berries to minus 40 degrees C. And then we're control granulating that material into a powder. It would be resembling coffee grounds at that point. At the bottom of this basket, you have a screen that's 20 microns thick. So it allows the CO2, supercritical CO2, to pass through and strip out the oils and continue on, leaving the solids behind. That is how you extract it. Then, so why does CO2 work? Well, CO2 is has this unique property called supercritical, and all that simply means that it behaves like a liquid and a gas. Or another way to think of it, it's a liquid that becomes compressible.
Yes. Seems to me that carbon dioxide, or CO2, has to be one of the safest approaches to do this.
Absolutely. The oil that's extracted, you'll see, it's going to get every lipid or oil, but any active compounds which are miscible or soluble in that oil are going to come with it. That's why our product, because of the high pressures we use, it has a dark color. It's bringing all the phytonutrients with it and all the sterols of the product.
Basically, you're taking all the good stuff out of the saw palmetto with this high pressure CO2 solvent process.
Absolutely, and that's what makes this unique. You can do supercritical CO2 at a lower pressure, but it will not generate that same color or the same look, simply because it's not as good a solvent at the pressure and low temperature that we're operating at.
Right, and that's what we want as clinicians. We want everything that is potentially good in that saw palmetto berry to be extracted.
Absolutely, agree completely. And it reinforces why we spend all the time to make sure we have the most mature berries, the most consistent, because we know the chemistry in the mature berries are what's required for the efficacy of the finished oil for the consumer. Here, the operators control the entire process. So you see representation of each of the extractors and each of the separators, all the ancillary equipment required, and they can control everything here. It's all data logged, they're tracking everything. We have master batch records. Here's one example, sitting here where manufacturing, myself plus the quality manager, will prescribe what are the parameters for preparing and then extracting saw palmetto. So this gets documented and then signed off on. This information will be accumulated for the entire lot. The campaign reference is the lot for this product. And this complete set of documents will be maintained for the entire life of this product through its shelf life. So it'll be multiple years where we have this.
Larry, this is extremely impressive. The reason I say it's impressive, because the average physician who is asked about saw palmetto does not know that this type of process quality control actually exists in this industry. I didn't know before this tour. This is what's left over after you've extracted the oil.
Yes, right. So all the proteins and carbohydrates and fibers are concentrated because that becomes, when you remove the oils, this is what you have left.
So Larry, is there any use for this?
What we do, we take this back to earth. So we then basically sell this, but it's really cost of transfer to an organic animal feed company who would then take this and combine it with other food and then use that for animal feed for cattle, because cattle's big in Florida, and then it takes the natural cycle of life, it goes back into the earth.
And really, one of the only products that you are using in this process is carbon dioxide, which is ubiquitous and not dangerous, that comes from the environment, goes back to the environment.
Exactly. So we are using food grade CO2. We're buying the same material that some of the major soda companies would be getting. So it's all food grade. And then we're recycling to the maximum extent that we can.
So you recycle the CO2 as well?
Yes. So part of our separation process, not only to get the oil out, but it's to clean up that CO2 so we can refrigerate it, recompress it, put it back into our tank and continue on.
Right. Do you add other chemicals or materials or anything into that oil?
Nothing.
Everything is natural?
Everything is natural.
Seeing the berry picking, seeing how they pick the right berries, going to the drying facility and seeing how they handled everything and controlled, there's control measures and quality control there, sampling, batch control. Then now I've come here and I see that all that I imagine you call it a supply chain type of thing. That
Absolutely.
All the way through. And I love that story because it ends here with a product, I believe, that I can justify recommending to my patients if they want to use an alternative complementary approach.
We call our supply chain effort here our GEMS process. And it would also include our laboratory testing and quality for purity, right? So the oils that we make here, the finished materials here, they'll go to the lab, and the lab plays a huge role in validating the identity. There's nothing in there that should not be in there, and complete compliance to USP monograph. That is critical to the overall GEMS process, because it doesn't make any sense to have a supply chain who isn't doing the proper quality.
Thank you so much. I really do appreciate it.
Thank you so much.
Hi, Curtis Nickel.
Nice to meet you, Dr. Nickel.
What's your position here?
I run the science team, which includes not only our quality, but our scientific messaging, support to marketing, and then our formulation work.
Now, I've just gone through the plant where you use a supercritical carbon dioxide extraction process. And I understand that the saw palmetto oil that is extracted is very similar to that of the European product, which is a regulated prescription industry. Could you explain the whole story to me?
Sure. Saw palmetto, by definition, has a specific lipid profile, which is considered to be the fingerprint for the berry. What the U.S. Pharmacopoeia has done is to say there is this definition, what we call standardization of the fingerprint of saw palmetto, guarantees authenticity. We've gone through a verification process by the U.S. Pharmacopoeia to make sure that we know we're meeting not only the quality expectations of a standardized extract, but we have a third party verifying that we have done this. This starts by harvesting ripe berries, only ripe berries with the amount of oil, and you've seen this probably on your journey.
Yes, and I'm very impressed, not only by the process, but by the safety of the process.
Yes, this is a customized plant built specifically for extracting natural lipids, and saw palmetto is what we do here, and
so
we
it
do here very
remains
well.
the natural, it remains the oils that have been, has been thought for centuries to provide value in terms of men's urinary health.
Right.
Without adulteration with any other chemical. So why don't I just make tablets with this ground berry product? Would that be as effective as the oil?
The profile for effectiveness, as we say, is specifically concentrated lipids that are extracted from that powder. You do see a lot of products on the market are actually just going to be capsules filled with this ground berry powder. What we need to make sure that urologists and customers and all of us understand is a specific dose. 320 milligrams a day is the clinically effective dose of this highly enriched extract.
So I'm going to go into a health food store, a pharmacy, and I'm looking for saw palmetto, and I see a lot of different brands. Do they all have USP accreditation, or do I know that?
No, we're the only USP verified saw palmetto extract in the world at this time. It has the potency and purity. We have proven to the U.S. Pharmacopoeia during the auditing process that we are able to deliver this batch after batch consistently, and that the profile for effectiveness, the lipid profile, will always be to the standards of the monograph. In addition, we carry other certifications such as by the Food and Drug Administration.
For me, one of the take-home messages of this entire trip that I've done through northern Florida, sort of in search of the saw palmetto story, is this whole supply chain from the pickers in the woods and the saw palmetto plant through its pathway through the drying facility, and then to your sort of facility where it's extracted, and we still end up with a concentrated natural product that, for all intents and purposes, is what is in the wild berry that they originally picked. What a fascinating but complex story. Margaret, thank you very much.
Thank you, Dr. Nickel. It was great to meet you, and thank you for coming.
My trip in northern Florida is almost over. It's time to think about heading home. What a great trip in search of the wild saw palmetto berry and the story behind it. From where they picked the saw palmetto berry in the Florida wilderness, to the drying facility just south of the Georgia border, to the University of Florida in Gainesville, through the Ocala Forest, to the extraction factory, where we finally end up with the natural saw palmetto oil that we see in the products. Well, the trip is coming to an end. It's a hot and humid day. It's time to head back to Canada.